It's time for us to go ahead and take a look at the Week 3 wide receiver rankings. Here's what the Week 2 wide receiver tier list looked like. We're going to go in, we're going to modify this, we're going to look at everyone's stats with flockfantasy.com, a free tool that gives us the most in-depth stats. Go check it out on flockfantasy.com for free. Mason Don, nice enough to let us use this. Make sure you smash the subscribe and like button. Help us out as a small channel. Looks like I'm a genius. I had Puka Nacua at the top of S tier going into Week 2, and man oh man, my old man is a dustman, I'm a genius. I also had CeeDee Lamb highly ranked. He had a big game. I had Chase and Jefferson fading a bit, and honestly, I think I made the right decision there. So we're going to head into Week 3. We're going to start looking at Puka Nacua. I don't think I can move him, man. When this guy is healthy, this guy is elite. We saw a bit of a floor game in Week 1, I guess. Not really, though. I mean, maybe you could say it's a floor game receiving-wise in Week 2. 9 targets, 8 receptions, 91 yards, brings in a 45-yard rush on 4th and 2 for a touchdown. I mean, that made his day monstrous. So I think Puka Nacua is going to be averaging 20-plus points per game when he is healthy. Takes on the Philadelphia Eagles. Take a look at what he did versus them last year. Last year, he had 13 targets, 9 catches, 117 yards. This guy was elite and insane versus them last year. You can also go ahead and track it back to the playoffs. Puka Nacua is going to have a big time performance. I ain't moving him. CeeDee Lamb, another solid game. I mean, Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb better have a good game if Prescott throws it 55 times, you know what I'm saying? So he had 11 targets, following up 13 targets in Week 1. About the same receiving yards, 112 receiving yards. Now, he hasn't hit Pater. So when you're averaging 19 points per game without getting any touchdowns, I think you're in a solid spot. As long as Dallas is forced to pass the football versus the Bears, CeeDee Lamb's going to have a big game. This Bears defense is not good. Amon-Ra St. Brown had 3 touchdowns. Jameson had 100 yards on 2 catches. CeeDee Lamb, expect him to feast versus the Bears. Hopefully Dallas doesn't pull too far in front or he'll be benched in the third quarter. CeeDee Lamb, good matchup. Got to be number 2. Ja'Marr Chase, this is where things get tough. Keep in mind, with Jake Browning, now we have the news on Jake Browning. Chase had 18 points before the Burrow injury. He finished with 37. So Browning still gave him looks. Browning will air the ball out. It's Browning versus Wentz. Expect Wentz to turn it over. Expect Browning to turn it over. It's probably going to be ugly. I expect Ja'Marr Chase to still have somewhere around 8+ targets. But I think he still will have decent volume. I think it's going to hurt T. Higgins more. Obviously, it's going to hurt Ja'Marr Chase's touchdown rate this year when you have Ja'Marr Chase out, or when you have Joe Burrow out for 3 months. So Ja'Marr Chase, good matchup versus the Minnesota Vikings right here. I still have to put him in S tier. Now, whether or not it's ahead of Jay Jettas, let's pull up what Jefferson did in Week 1. In Week 1, he had 15 points. In Week 2, it was an okay day. I actually think Carson Wentz coming in for Jefferson might not be a bad thing. We've seen this guy be quarterback proof. Now, the only concern I have is, does Kevin O'Connell let Carson Wentz air the football out? That might be an answer that the answer is no. Now, they have no Aaron Jones. They have Jordan Mason as the running back this week. You know, Jefferson had 3 catches, 81 yards. A lot of it came on a big chunk play of like 45 yards before half there to get a field goal. I don't know if I can keep Jefferson up here in S tier. I don't think I can keep Chase up here in S tier. I think I'm going to put Jefferson down in A tier. People are going to hate on it. The ceiling of Puka and CD and even Chase with Browning is just higher. So, I mean, this one hurts, but Jefferson's down a tier for the time being. Obviously, talent-wise, he might be number 1, but that's where he is for Week 3. Malik Neighbors might have to rise up to S tier. Every time I looked at Russell Wilson, the release point, it was 90-degree trajectory. This guy was throwing bombs. 40-point bomb. Look at the target. I told you in Week 1, I said, buy him low. He had the same amount of targets as Week 1. He was just more effective. He brings in 4 more catches, doubles his receiving yards, brings in the touchdown passes as well. Malik Neighbors, I think I have to put him ahead of Ja'Marr Chase. I really do. But takes on the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to be losing. Now, this defense is good for Kansas City. It could hold them to a modest game of like 16 points. Wouldn't be surprised right here. Don't love the matchup. I love the player. Got to put him up there. Amon-Ra St. Brown, surprisingly, I'm probably not going to bump him up too much in my rankings. 11 targets, which is a good sign to see, but keep in mind Jared Goff passed the ball at an astronomical rate. Jared Goff had 400 passing yards and 5 touchdowns. 3 of them went to Amon-Ra. He had a good day. Let's not overreact. I think I would rather start Amon-Ra St. Brown over Jefferson. Amon-Ra versus the Ravens. It feels like a good matchup where they're going to have to pass the ball. So I think that's a fair call. Nico Collins, I have not yet seen on Monday Night Football. Brian Thomas Jr. Everyone's going to tell me in the comments, nuke Brian Thomas Jr. in the rankings. Why would I do that? I mean, he's got the targets. Again, this is Malik Neighbors 2.0. Go out there and buy BTJ while you still can. I could care less that he's not catching them because, I mean, well, it hurts for the short term, but he's getting 12 targets a game. Eventually, he will bring these in. So, I mean, BTJ has to stay where he is in my eyes. I think he's fairly ranked. Jackson Smith and Jigba. I'm glad that I planted the flag and had him as an A-tier player instead of B-tier. This guy seems like he's going to have a very good fantasy season. 23 targets through 2 weeks, back-to-back 100-yard receiving games with no touchdowns as well. I'm actually going to put JSN up here ahead of BTJ. And, I haven't seen Nico Collins yet, but I know the Texans O-line isn't that good. I'm putting JSN right up there as my wide receiver 7 on the week. Ladd McConkey, hard to tell without the Monday Night Football game. Garrett Wilson, he might have to come down the rankings. I mean, you have Justin Fields in the concussion protocol. That might honestly help him. You know, a lot of his garbage time points might not have even came with Justin Fields in there at quarterback. This one's hard. I mean, the targets are there. 9 targets, 8 targets. We'll reserve the right to change this. I think Mike Evans could be a riser after week 2. You guys will have already known how Mike Evans plays. Don't be surprised if Mike Evans deserves to be a little bit higher. A.J. Brown, I think, is fairly ranked. There's better days ahead for A.J. Brown. They really don't have to pass the football. And keep in mind, A.J. Brown is kind of banged up. He did have 8 targets, brought in 5 of them. Only 27 yards. Jalen Hurts didn't throw the ball more than 7 yards all day long. This is kind of, I would say it's his floor, but we saw his floor week 1. Now, versus the Rams last year, because keep in mind they did play Los Angeles last year, A.J. Brown dropped 23 points, 110 yards, and a tutty. They probably have to get him involved or he's going to start crying like a baby. So I'm going to keep him here for another week. Marvin Harrison Jr., people are not going to be happy. Week 1, I told you, don't overreact. He had a touchdown, which saved his day. Week 2, he didn't have it. 4.7 points. It's a floor type day for MHJ. He probably has to bump down a whole tier. To be honest, tier B might just be Ladd McConkey and Mike Evans. And these guys might have to, we'll keep it as this. I think we're going to keep it as that for now. DK Metcalf. Kind of a floor type day as well. He hasn't been efficient. He hasn't been effective. He only brought in like his depth of reception was not great. 3 catches, 20 yards, brings in the touchdown, which saves his day. He's still wide receiver 28 and 29 in back-to-back weeks. Takes on the Patriots here. I'm going to reserve the right to potentially bump him down in the rankings. Cortland Sutton had a terrible game, man. Now, the good news is we saw Sutton have bad games last year and rebound still. So I wouldn't be too concerned for the long term here with Cortland Sutton. Just keep in mind, in the short term, not great. Now, versus the Chargers last year, he dropped 15 and he dropped 10. So I'd expect Cortland Sutton to rebound. I think I'd rather, I don't know. I think these guys deserve to be back-to-back. Personally, I'd rather start Sutton, even with Metcalf potentially having a safer floor. Emeka Egbuka, haven't seen him yet in week 2. He might also deserve to be rising up these rankings, but I think he's fairly praised. Drake London. We had him down here because I didn't think he was going to play. You guys probably were thinking, where the hell was Drake London? The only reason he was there is because I didn't think he was going to actually play. Well, Drake London did play. And in terms of his performance, I feel like I saw him getting some targets. Let me pull that up real quick. No, not Kenyon Drake. Yeah, Drake London, not a great day, actually. Only 4 targets. Brings in 3 of them for 49 yards. Better days are ahead. Good matchup right here versus the Carolina Panthers. I think Drake London has to be down here, actually all the way up here in A tier. Tyreek Hill with a bounce back game. I think I'd rather have Tyreek Hill than Cortland Sutton than DK Metcalf. I think I'd rather have Tyreek than MHJ as well. 6 catches, 100 plus yards. Thursday Night Football, they'll be down versus the Bills. I think Tyreek has to have a solid day. Now, Devontae Adams is one that's actually interesting. This guy has 1 million red zone targets, which I told you his role would be in the red zone. 13 targets, only brings in 6, 100 yards, 1 touchdown. Devontae Adams has to skyrocket up these rankings. Tough matchup versus the Eagles. I think I'd rather have Devontae than Tyreek, just because I think Devontae's going to have more opportunity here in the red zone with Matt Stafford. T. Higgins has to stay where he is. I wasn't high on him coming into the week. Salvages his week with a touchdown. It's Jake Browning's show. I think it's going to affect T. Higgins more than anybody else. Ricky Pearsall. Pearsall has an okay game, I believe. Let me go ahead and pull this up. Mac Jones did show he could potentially support. I mean, decent. 6 targets, 56 yards. Not bad. It's kind of a floor. I'm still worried about Ricky Pearsall right here with Mac Jones because versus the Cardinals last year, he had a good game. 6 for 6. He scored a touchdown. That's why he had a good game versus them last year. With Mac Jones as the quarterback, you can't be too excited. Tetairoa McMillan had a big-time performance. I'm not ready to skyrocket him just yet, though. I think he's fairly ranked. Maybe I'll put him ahead of Ricky Pearsall because I'd rather have Ted McMillan than Mac Jones at this point. Terry McLaurin, another bad game, but this is going to be interesting for you all to see. I think Terry McLaurin is going to have a breakout game very soon. Week 3 versus Las Vegas. Let's take a look at last year. Last year, he started out as wide receiver 77, wide receiver 42. This year, 72, and I don't know why it's wide receiver 3. He was trashed, 9.8 points. So Terry McLaurin, back-to-back years, 2 bad weeks. What did he do after that? He went on an insane run of 20-point bombs. I think we could see that again this year. I actually think Terry McLaurin is a good start. I would definitely have him in your lineup. Zay Flowers has to jump up a whole tier as well. I'd rather have Zay Flowers than Courtland Sutton. I think I'd rather start Zay Flowers than MHJ at this point. Zay Flowers seems like he's involved as number 1 for sure in this Ravens offense. 9 targets, 11 targets, back-to-back 7-catch games. Very interesting, very good performance. Takes on the Lions in a good matchup that I like. I like Zay Flowers a lot this week. Debo also has to rise. I would rather be starting Debo Samuel than Courtland Sutton and Metcalf as well. Pittman, Danny Dimes. I can't call him that. You can't call him Danny Dimes anymore when he wants to be called by Indiana Jones. It is what it is, man. This guy's a stud. I don't want to say that either because it's a lie. But Pittman did still have an okay day. 4 catches on 40 yards, 5 targets. Solid day. It's a floor game, 8 points. Doesn't have a touchdown. He had a touchdown in week 1. That's the main difference here, as well as a few more targets. Week 3, good matchup versus Tennessee Titans. Now, last year versus the Titans, 3.9 points. Don't read too much into it. He was playing with a broken back. I think he bounces back here. One of Danny Dimes' favorite targets. So Pittman should be somebody you start. He is down here in D tier. Olave is a good buy low candidate, boys. The reason being, 12 points, 11 points, not popping off. 23 targets. I don't care, bro. Spencer Rattler's throwing the ball a lot. And Chris Olave, if he can stay healthy, should be a main benefactor of that this season. I'm bumping him up a whole tier up to C tier. Jameson Williams salvages his day with a touchdown. Honestly, it's disappointing for the future in my eyes. He still should be somebody you start. Jerry Jeudy, I'm going to keep the same. Hollywood Brown, I'm also going to keep the same. Surprisingly, 5 catches on 5 targets. I think he had 30 yards. Not a great day. Xavier Worthy should be back, which also might bump him down a little bit. I still think that Hollywood Brown is somebody you potentially flex play this week. We'll see the rest of these rankings. We'll probably bump him down a little bit. Haven't seen Keenan Allen yet. I'm expecting Keenan Allen to perform well. I think he's fine where he is. I'd rather have Ridley than Hollywood Brown. Actually, I think these guys deserve to be back-to-back. Travis Hunter, not a great game. We'll keep him where he is. DJ Moore. This is an interesting one. What did my guy DJ Moore do? He's the wide receiver 2 now in Chicago. So DJ Moore and Caleb Williams, back-to-back weeks of 9 fantasy points, 5 or 6 targets. It's not great. He's probably fairly ranked where he is. Keon Coleman, surprisingly, is not going to fall down my rankings even after the poor performance. His snap rate was lower, which is why he had a worse performance in my eyes. Pickens might have to raise up a tier. Like, would I rather have Pickens or DJ Moore? I think this is where things get really, really close. Diggs is still not playing. I mean, he's playing 50% of the snaps, so I think Diggs has to bump down these rankings as well. I'd rather have Devontae than both these guys. I'd rather have Waddle, I think, than Devontae Smith too. Waddle, I think, is going to have a solid day versus the Bills. Waddle had a solid performance with a touchdown, I believe, in week 2 versus the Patriots. Darnell Mooney, it was one game. Don't read too much into it. I believe Josh Downs also had a solid day in week 2. Taking a look at Josh Downs, he rebounded in a big way from 3 points up to 11, 8 targets as well. So he kind of had the Wan'Dale Robinson role, just all right for PPR, not too exciting. I think I'd rather have Shaheed because Spencer Rattler seems to be having high passing volume week to week. Shaheed, 9 targets week 1, 6 receptions, 5 targets for 52 yards and a touchdown. Racing the touchdown catch. Again, week 1, he dropped a touchdown pass as well. So I think Shaheed is a safe potential flex play in week 3 to take on the Seattle Seahawks. Shaheed might have to climb up these rankings a little bit. I think I'd rather have him. Now, Matthew Golden sucks. And where's Romeo Doubs? Where is Romeo Doubs? I don't have Romeo Doubs. Oh, here he is. Romeo Doubs should probably be ahead of Matthew Golden. I think Romeo Doubs is also somebody you can flex play this week. Keon Coleman. What worries me about Keon Coleman is, do the Bills have to pass the ball versus the Dolphins, or are they just going to blow them out? And that's a true concern. Matthew Golden, I haven't seen anything to make me think he's going to be insane, so I can't have him that high. What is Khalil Shakir? What has his usage been like? I was fading Shakir last week, and he gets 2 points, 2 targets. Josh Palmer had more targets than him, so I think Shakir has to kind of stay where he is. Unfortunately, I was wrong. I was wrong about Rome Odunze, and I was wrong in a substantial way. Now, I wasn't wrong in a huge way because the reason I didn't like him is because I was fading the Bears offense. I was fading that Caleb Williams would suck, and I was right about that. Caleb Williams doesn't look good, but Odunze is now wide receiver 1 over DJ Moore. He gets 20 targets through 2 weeks for 130 yards, 2 touchdowns, takes on the Dallas Cowboys in a good matchup. Odunze is going to be ahead of Courtland Sutton. He's going to be flying up these rankings this week for me. And if you know my stance on Odunze, you know that's a big time boost. Jaden Reed is out for a long time, so we're going to be bumping him outside of the tier list. Shakir, not interesting. Wan'Dale Robinson, you can see I had pretty highly ranked coming into week 2. Turns out I was right. I potentially, you can't have Wan'Dale Robinson above any of these guys in my eyes. Haven't seen Higgins yet. Don't be surprised if he rises. I think I'd rather have Josh Palmer than Pop Douglas. Cooper Kupp, let me guess, another dusty week. I have no idea what he did in week 2. Let's see. 16. Oh! Is Cooper Kupp somebody that we have to fly up these rankings? Probably not. It's good. Game 2 with a quarterback. Maybe you chalk up game 1 to lack of chemistry, and they found something versus the Steelers. Good matchup versus the Saints too. Cooper Kupp, honestly, based on what he did in week 2, I don't know how you can have him. I think I have to put him up here in F tier. It's still guys that a lot of these players are flex plays you're not too excited about. And to be honest, I think Jalen Waddle has to rise up. I think I'd rather have Jalen Waddle than any of the guys right here. I think Pickens has to be a bit of a riser. DJ Moore's fair wear. I haven't seen Myers. Myers has the potential to go up higher. Fading Devontae Smith again. Let's check in on Devontae Smith, and you'll see why I have him so low. Devontae Smith, good player, but Jalen Hurts is throwing the ball, 6 yards as his deepest completion. 6 targets, 53 yards, brings in a jump ball downfield, which is why he had a solid, salvageable day. Still not too impressive. DeAndre Hopkins is still not startable, even though he had a touchdown catch in week 2. Christian Watson, Adam Thielen, not even worth ranking in my eyes. The Big Q, subject to change based on the Monday Night Football performance. I think the Big Q is going to be somewhere in this flex play category. To be honest, I think the Big Q might be somewhere here. He's probably going to be somewhere along this range in the rankings. We'll see what happens. Let's see what Kirk does, if he's back from injury or not. Leggett, not great. Mims, not great. And that's going to be the week 3 wide receiver rankings. I hope this helped you boys out with some start-sit decisions within this tier list. We're going to do QB, defense, tight end next. Smash that subscribe button.